What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you another new deck from Phantom Nightmare. This time it is Goblin Bikers. This is a brand new rank 3 spam deck that does do incredibly well at producing rank 3 XYZs, and some of their cards are really cool, being able to use some of your opponent's monsters as XYZ material, or technically stealing them to attach them as material. Massive shout out to Rob who has put this particular build together. This is something that I haven't seen being used online as of yet. There's loads of different versions of the deck that you can utilize with stuff like the punks as well, but this one's going to have a little bit of added spice to make it a little bit better. On top of that as well, we have kind of kept budget in mind. There are a couple of cards that are a little bit more expensive that you can sub out, and if you are not budget restricted, there's cards that you can sub in. I'll also show you a one card combo at the end of the video. I'll show you the one that is pretty generic, and I'll also show you the one that involves the engine that Rob has specifically chosen to use. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, we're going to dive head first into the Goblin Biker profile. So we're going to start off with the most important main deck Goblin monster, and that is of course the Goblin Biker Dug Charger. So this one is, if this card is in the hand, you get to detach an XYZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, special on this card. If this card is normal or special, you get to add one Goblin Biker spell or trap from the deck to the hand, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Then we've also got two Goblin Biker Boom Mac. Now this card again is actually really kind of cool. So once per chain during the main phase, if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you gain a quick effect to detach an XYZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, special on this card. However, you cannot special summon Goblin Biker Boom Mech until the end of the next turn. So basically what it means is whatever turn you use it in, you can't use it again until that turn again. So if you do it during your turn, it means you can't summon it again until your turn. If you do it during your opponent's turn, it means you can't summon it again until your opponent's next turn. And then the next one we've got is the Goblin Biker Clatter Splatter. Now this one's actually really kind of cool as well. The only downside is it will only give you that trigger to special summon itself from the graveyard during your opponent's turn. So if this card is normal or special, you get to target a Goblin monster in your graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. During your opponent's main phase, if this card is in the graveyard, quick effect, detach an XYZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, special on this card, but banish it while when it leaves the field. Now obviously with a deck like this, when you're going XYZ focused, most of them should be used as XYZ material so that they never actually leave the field to get banished. They just go back to the graveyard, and then you can use it all again in the correct turn. And the last Goblin we are playing is the one Goblin Biker Mean Merciless. So this one is, if normal or special, you can special summon one Goblin monster from the hand, except itself. Again, during the main phase, if this card is in the graveyard, you get to detach one XYZ from a monster on either field, and if you do, special summon it, but banishing it when it leaves the field. Now this one is specifically during your main phase, Splatter is during your opponent's main phase, and obviously Boom Mac is during either's main phase. Now the reason we actually play the Mean Merciless and only at one is because your best starter of the deck is Tour Guide. Now you could very easily consider Orpus Scorpio and of course Darlington Cobra, but it does require you to have that discard, and it will lose out to every single hand trap that Tour Guide does as well. The benefit behind Tour Guide is it does give you access to your Mean Merciless, and in doing so, your Mean Merciless can then come back from the graveyard once you use it as XYZ material and detach it as a material. On top of that as well, just to be added spice off of Tour Guide, you can also summon out Sangan, but keep in mind when you do summon out Sangan, its effect will only trigger when it's used as Link material, so you need to make sure that you're going to be using it into a Link 2, and we are currently only playing one Link 2 in this extra deck, but again, if you wanted to sub in more expensive cards like IP Masquerena and SP Little Knight, you'd get a bit more consistency. Now the reason you would do something like that with the Sangan is it can search you out any of your hand traps. Now we're currently playing 3 monster style hand traps in the form of Ash, Ghost Ogre, and Drow Lockbird. So for Sangan to have that ability to just search you out Drow Lockbird, which if you're going first can be absolutely devastating against the right opponent, especially if you've opened up multiple ways to extend that you can actually use the Tour Guide to get into Sangan and not worry about it, it's a really kind of cool option. It is currently a 41 card deck, so you can very easily sub the Sangan out if you don't want to be dealing with that, because technically it is a bit of a brick in the hand. You don't really want to be normal summoning it, you want to save that for your Tour Guide. Speaking of the best level 3 extension engines without using up your normal summon, of course, Terratop and Tokentong Borg. I also do play in this version of the deck. Rob didn't play this, but this is just my personal preference, is I am playing the one Instant Fusion and the Ready Fusion. Now the reason I'm showing you them here is because the target that we're going to use for the Ready Fusion is a very old card, and that is of course the Dragoness the Wicked Knight. Now the reason you'd go for this is because it's a level 3 wind, and the reason that has synergy with Tokentong Borg and of course with your Terratop is more so with the Tuck and Toll Borg, that if you hard open it, but you open up Ready Fusion or Instant Fusion, you still have the ability to summon this out. And then what you do is you can still special summon down Tuck and Toll Borg because you control a wind monster. Now, obviously, the biggest downside of it is it does take up one of the slots in your extra deck, but Instant Fusion and Ready Fusion was probably like the best cards on their own that wouldn't instantly lose to a hand trap in order to give you that free extender. You can very easily cut them out. There are other spell cards like X-Way, I think it's called Overlay Network, which allows you to target an XYZ you control and add one of the materials from it to its hand, or you get to target an XYZ you control and then special summon a monster from the graveyard back to the field. It's good, but it locks you into XYZs, so it's kind of down to personal preference. Again, these are cards you don't have to play. I just wanted to show you them as a form of a level 3 extender. Speaking of level 3 extenders, we are also playing the Tracker and the Wielder. You could spice this out and play some level 6 synchros if you wanted to. Heck, you could even play Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. But with this deck, you kind of want to go into rank 3s rather than going into like level 6s in order to get you what could possibly be a Coral Dragon for a draw and a discard pop, or of course a Charge Warrior for a guaranteed draw. I'll go through the other extenders that we play as well, because technically we are also playing 2 E-Telly. Now, E-Telly actually has great utility in this deck. You could very easily play it free, and that's where I'd say if you want to cut this down to a 40 card deck, you can get rid of both the instant and the ready fusion, and then put in free E-Telly. And the reason E-Telly is also quite useful is because your hand trap in the form of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is also a psychic, so it can also be used as an extender. On top of that, I feel a lot of people are not going to be expecting Ghost Ogre in this upcoming format. Now, I'm not saying it's the most broken hand trap around, but in a card where you can use this as either a hand trap that could be very surprising and very effective against an opponent, or just as an extender for the deck, it can be very, very good. I'll continue with the hand traps a little bit later on. Now we're going to move on to the Goblin spell cards. So we've got triple Goblin Biker Grand Entrance. I absolutely love the artwork on this card. I think it's really good, and the card's absolutely nuts. So you add a Goblin monster from your deck to the hand, and then you can apply one of the following effects. Detach one XYZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, special summon a level 4 or lower Goblin monster from your hand. You can also banish this card from the graveyard, detach one material from this monster from a monster on either field, and then you get to add a Goblin monster from your graveyard to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn, which is really nice because you're going to be able to get a special summon, and then you can also get a resource management if you want to. We've then got the one Goblin Biker Grand Bash. So Goblin monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Goblin monster you control, which is quite nice. And then during the main phase, you get to normal summon a Goblin monster in addition to your normal summon or set. So it does mean if you do open up multiple Goblins and your Tour Guide, you can go Tour Guide. You can get into your big Gabunga, and this will then give you into Bash to give you that additional extender should you need to. On top of that as well, you get to target... You can only gain that effect once per turn, but you get to target 2 Goblin monsters you control and then activate one of these effects. You make the levels of one of the monsters become current level of the other. So if one is already a level 6, you can make them both level 6s or make them both level 3s. Or both of them become the combined original level. So that's how you turn them into level 6s in order to get you into your rank 6 Goblin's Crazy Beast. But that really comes down to personal preference. Like the Goblin's Crazy Beast is a bit... hit and miss. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world if you do want to try and play it. You could very easily spice in a Beatrice and then like a transaction rollback target if you wanted to go down something like that route. But honestly, this is quite a nice way to give you an additional form of extension and then just being able to get you into rank 6 should you want to do that. One of the Goblin monsters, as you've noticed, is one of them's Fiend, one of them's Warrior, which is your most important one in the form, of course, of the Goblin Biker Doug Charger. So you want to play 4 copies where at all possible. And then here comes the very spicy engine, and it's very spicy, but it's very minimal. It's 1 card in the main deck in the form of the Ghost Trick Shot, and it's 3 cards in the extra deck, and I'll show you the combo at the end of it. So this one lets you special summon a Ghost Trick monster from your hand or graveyard, and then you can change one face down Ghost Trick monster you control to face out of tap position. That's a little bit relevant. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one Ghost Trick XYZ monster you control, attach one Ghost Trick card from your graveyard to that monster as material. So it's basically what you're trying to do is you're very easily going to be able to go into your Ghost Trick Alucard right here, and then you're going to be able to utilize effects of the back of Alucard to ultimately end up getting you 2 forms of the Ghost Trick Angel, and then when you've got 2 Ghost Trick Angels on the board, you can then obviously search out your shot. You're going to be able to recycle more materials, and then you're going to be able to put both of them together to go into Utopic Future and then Utopic Draco Future. Now there's one thing about this extra deck, and I'm going to show you more than 15 cards just because there's so many different engines you can utilize and change and choose to use. But the one issue I have with this is there's a lot of XYZ packages, and what I mean by that is there's a lot of XYZ monsters that can rank on top of each other, which is great. but when you're using multiple ones of them, it kind of clogs the extra deck down a little bit. So that's why it can be a bit of a struggle to fit all of them in. I just wanted to show you as much of a range as possible, and then you can go, oh, I really like that version of the engine, I'm going to use that, or maybe I don't like that one, I'm going to try something different. I've got the one Call by the Grave, and then for our hand traps, we've got, of course, the 2 Ghost Ogre that I've already shown you, triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, followed up by triple Drow and Lockbird. Like I said, because you can search this off of Sangan, you could technically play Drow and Lockbird at 2 if your local environment is a bit hit and miss with the amount that they search. But ultimately, I feel that the format we're going to be going into, Drow and Lockbird, is a mainstay staple. And then, of course, the final hand trap that we are playing is triple Infinite Impermanence. Pretty straightforward on that one. The last 2 cards we are playing is the 1 Goblin Biker Grand Stampede. So during the main phase, you get to immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon 1 XYZ monster using only Goblin monsters you control. If you control a Goblin XYZ monster, you get to target 1 effect monster on the field, detach an XYZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, negate that monster's effect until the end of this turn. Sadly, you can only use 1 Goblin Biker Grand Stampede effect per turn, and technically a card that is better than this one is, of course, the Full Armored XYZ. So obviously this is searchable as well. The fact that it's continuous is quite nice because it means you can constantly keep making these XYZs during your turn and your opponent's turn, and it does allow you to dodge certain effects sometimes as well. But going for the Full Armored XYZ is another form of the package. So as you can see, with the extra deck, there's 2 packages that you're playing. The Ghost Trick package, which requires 1 card in the main deck, and you're also playing the Full Armored XYZ package, which again requires 3 in the extra deck and 1 in the main deck. So if an XYZ monster or monsters is on the field, immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon 1 XYZ monster using monsters you control. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then target 1 XYZ monster you control, equip 1 other XYZ monster from your face-up field or graveyard to that monster as an equip spell with the following effects. The equipped monster gains attack equal to this card's attack. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. Now what makes this really good is this one specifically limits you to summoning out goblins, whereas this can let you play any rank 3 you want. So another really cool rank 3 that I've seen people play is the Kincardra King, because it means during your opponent's turn you activate this and you set yourself up with a monster negate. If you have 2 wins, you can very easily set yourself up with a Totem Bird, which is really kind of cool and spicy as well. Moving into the extra deck, so what is guaranteed no matter what version you decide to play is 2 Goblin Biker Big Gobunga. This card is just absolutely insane for the deck. So it's generic rank 3, which is really nice. And if it is XYZ summoned, you get to add a Goblin monster from the deck to the hand. So straight away, no matter how you've made this, you're going to be able to search yourself out an extender, whether it be in the form of the Boom Mac, whether it be in the Clattersploider, or of course your Dug Charger as well. So you've got loads of different routes you can search into. And then, of course, you get the ability for, if material is detached from a monster or monsters on the field, except during a damage step, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field, except this card, attach it to this card as material. Now, the best thing about that is you're able to trigger the effects like that during your opponent's turn with, of course, Boom Mech and, of course, Clatter Charger, Clattersploider, muddling them all up. During the end phase, you get to attach a Goblin monster from your deck to this card's material. So if you haven't been able to go through a Boom Mech during your combo, or of course a Splotter, you can just attach it as material, and then that's how you're going to be able to set up more ways of being able to detach materials during your opponent's turn. Now, subjective is, of course, the Instant Fusion target. Like, if you don't want to play the Instant Fusion engine, you can take this out completely. The first XYZ engine we're playing is the XYZ Full Armored. I don't have Tornado, which is a little bit disappointing, but I should be able to pick that up at locals this weekend. But the idea is that Tornado, you detach 2 to draw a card, you rank it on top and go into the Armor Fortress sometimes, and then your Armor Fortress searches you out the trap card and then goes into your Full Armored Dart Lancer. So you're just basically working your way up. I'll show you all the engines as well, and it's really just down to you which ones you want to play. You don't need to play all of them. I'm going to be showing you more than 15 cards in the extra deck, as I've already mentioned, but you kind of adapt and subjectively choose which engine you prefer to play. So for the Ghost Trick engine, of course, you've got the Alucard into the 2 Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief. Now, you could arguably take out Downed if you want to, because technically your Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief can do the same thing. But if you did want to go with your Downed route, you could also play Fortune Tunes. You've just got a card that's really difficult for your opponent to deal with. And then, of course, you would go into a Zeus. So that's your route of play there. You can do it through the Ghost Trick Alucard route if you don't want to play the Downed Magician. This one's just a little bit more generic, because you can go into any of your rank 3s, whereas this one can only go on the Alucard. The reason you're playing 2 Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief is that going off the Angel of Mischief in the combo that I'll show you, you put 2 of those together to go into Utopic Future, and then you go into Utopic Draco Future as well. So again, that's a subjective engine. You don't have to play it, but it's giving you a couple of different options to look at should you want to. Another card that is a mainstay staple in my opinion is the Ashura King. It's very easy for you to get multiple level 3s on the board, and this card's just absolutely insane as an OTK enabler as well as a nice defender. You've then, of course, got a Bujinki and Mishima. You can utilize this by being able to bring back one of your level 3s or level 3s from the graveyard and a level 3 from the hand to give you an additional rank 3 play. You don't have to play it. It is entirely up to you. So again, a subjective option. Same for Sky Slayer Typhoon. It's probably the most expensive card in the entire deck, including the extra deck. So you don't have to play this, but it's just another one of them ones where being able to rank up one of your monsters into a Typhoon that's going to be a board negate for anything that is 3k or 3k or more, and give you a nice little bounce is very, very valuable. And then, like I said, of course, you've got your Downed as an option. And then, of course, the last one is the Goblin's Crazy Beast. So this is a rank 6. If you want to go down that route, you can do very easily. And that just gives you an option to deal with back row. So I'll quickly just highlight all 15. Oh, I wish we had a 16 card extra deck of the cards that are currently in play in this particular version. Just so you can kind of see what is being utilized. Like I said, if you're playing the Instant Fusion, you're going to be going with that one. You're definitely going with your Goblin Bagungas. God, words are escaping me. So that's your 3, 4, 5. You've got a nice little option. And then, of course, you've got 6, 7, Tornado being 8. You got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then your 14 and 15 are your most aggressive options. Again, you've got the Crazy Beast and you've got your Bujinki and Mishima. So your Crazy Beast would go in place of the Typhoon if you don't have it. And the Oshima is just another option that you can utilize if you want to. So that's it for the entire profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the generic combos that are going to allow you to get into the Ghost Trick kind of route of play. So you can see how that engine utilizes itself. And then I'll also show you the generic combo that is like off of the back of Terratop, which gives you a very impressive board. So just for ease on the combo, I'll be starting both of them off with, of course, just Terratop. That's the easiest way of doing it because it doesn't use up your normal summon and it also only requires you to use one card. So the best thing is you're going to special summon down the Terratop. You're going to then be able to search out your Tokentown Borg and special summon down that. So this is the Ghost Trick combo. So what you're going to do is you're going to overlay both of those. You're going to go into Alucard. And the best thing about this is you then have the ability to rank on top and go straight into your first Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief. Then what you want to do is you want to specifically use the effect, making sure you detach the Alucard in order to search you out the Ghost Trick shot. You then activate the Ghost Trick shot to special summon back a Ghost Trick monster from the hand or graveyard, being, of course, Alucard. And then what you're going to do is you're going to rank up the Alucard again, going into the second Ghost Trick of Mischief. So the best thing about this one is you can also XYZ this card using a Ghost Trick XYZ monster you control as material, except itself. Transfer the materials to this card. When the number of materials on this card becomes 10, you win the duel. Nice. Once per turn, you get to detach a material from this card to add a Ghost Trick spell or trap from the deck to the hand. Once per turn, you can attach one Ghost Trick card from your hand to this card as material. So you do have the ability, should you want to be able to loop back in a later turn the Ghost Trick shot as well. And then on top of that, your Alucard will give you the ability that your opponent cannot target other Ghost Trick monsters or any face-down defense position monsters for attacks. But you can also detach material from this card and then target a set spell in your opponent controls and destroy it. So you're going to use each effect once per turn, and if this card is sent to the graveyard by any means, you get to target another Ghost Trick card in the graveyard and add it back. So that's how, when you're going to overlay both the Angel of Mischiefs and go into a Utopic Draco, or work your way up into a Draco Utopic Future, Alucard's effect will trigger to give you the Ghost Trick shot back, and then obviously Ghost Trick shot can bring back the Alucard, very nice. And then of course you're going to rank up your Utopic Future into your Utopic Draco Future, and then you still have your normal summon to utilize, and of course you've got Ghost Trick shot. Unfortunately you can only use each effect once per turn, but this does give you a crack back for the next turn, which can very easily bring back the Angel of Mischief as well, if you needed to, and that can then help you work your way into Zeus fodder, but you're probably going to be better off bringing back Alucard, main phase 2, go into Downed, and then that gives you a Zeus crackback. So that's it for that combo. Very, very straightforward and very, very simple. So that's the Ghost Trick route. Like, this isn't exclusive to the Goblin Riders. It can be utilized in pretty much anything that gives you that kind of ability. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you the other combo that can come off the back of Terratop. Ideally, it's just the ability to create a rank 3 without using your normal summon is what's going to get you everything you need. Okay, so working off the other combo for Terratop, this will adapt depending on what else you have in the hand, what else you want to be building up to, but I'll just show you the basic outline of where you can go. So again, you special summon out Terratop, you special summon down Tokentown Borg, overlay both of these, but this time you're going to go into your Goblin Biker Big Gabunga. You're then going to be able to use Goblin Biker's Big Gabunga's effect to search yourself out the Dog Charger. You then use Dog Charger's effect. This will allow you to detach a material from an XYZ on the field and special summon itself down. If you do, you then get to add yourself your Goblin Biker Grand Entrance from the deck to the hand. You'll then rank up your Goblin Biker Big Gabunga into your Armor Fortress XYZ. You're going to use your Armor Fortress XYZ to detach the Goblin Biker Big Gabunga, and this is going to allow you to search yourself out the full armored XYZ. You're then going to be able to activate your Goblin Biker Grand Entrance to add from the deck to the hand your Goblin Biker Clatter Spoiler. And then of course you're going to use the ability to detach a material from a monster on the field, and if you do, special on a level 4 or lower, which will of course be your Splodder. You'll then be able to use Splodder's effect, which will allow you to bring back the Big Gabunga from the graveyard, so you're just maintaining so much more resource. You've now got the ability to overlay the Armoured Fortress into your Dark Knight Lancer, and then you've got the ability, in this scenario, you can overlay these into any rank 3 you want, but you ideally want to go into a rank 3 that's going to get materials off of it right away. So in this scenario, you can very easily go into Alucard and then work your way up that way, which could be very, very kind of cool. So alternatively, you can go into Torpedo. Torpedo will then use its effect and everything else. So I suppose for this one, let's just show you the Alucard so you can kind of see how the Ghost Trick combo fits into everything else. So you go into Alucard, and then what you're trying to do is you're ideally just working your way up to make sure you can get these materials into the graveyard. So you'll then be able to detach a material off of the Mischief. So we'll make sure we detach off the Alucard, and you're going to search out your Ghost Trick Shot. You're going to activate the Ghost Trick Shot. You're going to bring back the Alucard. You're then going to rank up the Alucard into the second Ghost Trick Angel, and then you're going to use both Ghost Trick Angels to go into your Utopic Future, and then into your Utopic Draco Future as well. So now these are all back in the graveyard where they need to be. So then obviously at this point here, what you're going to want to do is you've still got the ability of your full Armored XYZ to activate, and then in the graveyard, what you're currently sitting on is you've got the ability of activating your Clatter Spoiler. You haven't even conducted your normal summons, you can very easily activate the Goblin Biker Grand Entrance to banish this from the graveyard to add the Spoiler back to the hand. And the idea for that would be is you can normal summon it and you can make some Link 2 plays if you want to go down the IP Masquerena route. But on this one, we're just going to leave it as it is because we're currently in a very good position. During the end phase, you're going to use the Big Gabunga's effect to equip the Boom Mech to it as material. And then what you're going to be able to do is during your opponent's turn, you're going to have the ability of your Goblin Biker Clatter Exploiter to use his effect to detach a material from a monster on the field. So you're going to detach off of the Big Gabunga, your Boom Mech. You're going to special summon back the Exploiter. You're then going to use the Goblin Big Mech effect as well. So this can then detach off of pretty much anything you have. This will then, of course, summon the Big Mac back. You can activate the full armor, and this will then allow you to make any rank 3 that you want, apart from a Shuriken because it needs 3 materials. But again, you can go into another Big Gabunga. If you are playing Kokada King, you can go into a Kokada King as well. Not to mention that as I was doing the combo previously, you should have added back the Ghost Trick Shot when you sent Alucard. So you've got the follow-up for that, and you're still maintaining an additional 4 cards in your hand, which is absolutely insane because these can be additional hand traps. You set yourself up with a couple of very nice negates, and then of course during the end phase you'll get the Big Gabunga's effect to go off. Not to mention if you waited to use your graveyard effects of these and your opponent put a monster on the board, by detaching material for the Big Gabunga, or any of these really, you can trigger the effect to take your opponent's monster and attach it to the Big Gabunga as a material, which is incredibly nice as well. So that's it for the entire profile. I hope this has given you a bit of an idea of what the deck can do. It's really kind of cool. I like how it operates. I do feel it's just fine-tuning the extra deck to get the exact monsters that you need and the exact monsters that you want, while also being able to utilize everything else that you need to do. So being able to get into the rank 3s that you want to, being able to control your opponent's board state. The deck isn't perfect, but it will get some more support that's already been confirmed in the future, which is really, really nice. And I feel right now, as it currently has 2 secrets and 2 ultra rares, it's worth picking up if they're really cheap, building it, having a bit of fun with it, and then wait to see what the future holds, because I really do like what this deck can do. Anyway, I hope this has given you a couple of ideas on your own build. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.